So to anyone who has not experienced this is honestly gonna sound crazy, but hey you guys, so today I wanted to talk to you all about something called fasting. Now, the first time I heard the term fasting was not even within the parameters of the Christian church, so that's why I felt like it's important to explain, because I think it's something that's helped me so much, given me so much focus, so much understanding, and allowed me to hear God a lot more clearly in my life. So it's something that I wanted to break down for others, to help you all get that understanding as well. So the very first time that I heard the term fasting was when I was little. I was in elementary school and one of my friends was Muslim, and it was during the season of Ramadan, and he would go to the library when we were going to the cafeteria. So during lunch hour he would go to the library because he wouldn't eat, he was fasting. So I just was like, oh, well, fasting is something that Muslim people do. And I had no idea that Christian people also fast as well. So I get a little bit older. I talk about joining a new church in my adult life. And when I did that, I started diving even deeper into my word. I figured out what fasting meant and the purpose behind fasting. And it has been life-changing, like, to say the least. It's been absolutely amazing. It's something that I practice every now and again, whenever I feel that I need to, or when I feel that God is pushing me to do it. So it's something that I wanted to share with you all today. The biggest examples of fasting in the Bible that probably come to the top of any Christian's mind are Daniel, because a lot of Christians commemorate the Daniel fast. A lot of them do it in January, at the beginning of a new start of a new year. So I am going to dive right into the book of Daniel in the Bible. I am going to read chapter 1 with you guys. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord delivered Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, along with some of the articles from the temple of God. These he carried out to the temple of his God in Babylonia and put in the treasure house of his God. Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, chief of his court officials, to bring into the king's service some of the Israelites from the royal family and the nobility, young men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well-informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace. He was to teach them the language and literature of the Babylonians. The king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years, and after that, they were to enter the king's service. Among those who were chosen were some from Judah: Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The chief official gave them new names. To Daniel, the name Belteshazzar; to Hananiah, Shadrach; to Mishael, Meshach; and to Azariah, Abednego. But Daniel resolved not to defile with the royal food and wine, and he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself this way. Now God had caused the official to show favor and compassion to Daniel, but the official told Daniel, "I am afraid of my lord the king, who has assigned your food and drink. Why should he see you looking worse than the other young men your age? The king would then have my head because of you." Daniel then said to the guard, whom the chief official had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, "Please test your servant for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then compare our appearance with that of the young men who eat the royal food, and treat your servants in accordance with what you see." So he agreed to this and tested them for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier and better nourished than any of the young men who ate the royal food. So the guard took away their choice food and the wine they were to drink, and gave them vegetables instead. To these 4 young men, God gave knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature and learning, and Daniel could understand visions and dreams of all kinds. At the end of the time set by the king to bring them into his service, the chief official presented them to Nebuchadnezzar. The king talked with them, and he found none equal to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So they entered the king's service. In every matter of wisdom and understanding about which the king questioned them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in his whole kingdom. And Daniel remained there until the 1st year of King Cyrus. So So this is the first example. We see Daniel completely deny his flesh in order not to defile himself and to honor God. When you think of the king's table and what these men were probably offered, I mean, think of like the best of the best, the most lavish foods. And he is like, nope, I don't want to eat that. I don't want to defile my body. I will just take the vegetables and the water. I'll skip your wine and all of that. He just is completely denying himself this, satisfaction. And so we look a little bit further and we see that although they've only been eating vegetables and drinking water, they look even more healthier and more nourished than the other men who were chosen as well. So you can just clearly see God's favor. We can visibly see it, but then you also see it a little bit further down in the amount of knowledge and understanding and wisdom that they've been blessed with. And this is what I kind of want to focus on. So we see that they are 10 times more wise than anyone else. And when compared to the magicians and the enchanters, they are far beyond them. So to anyone who has not experienced this is honestly going to sound really crazy, but this is the result of fasting. The first time that I did a fast, like really deep dove into a fast, it was for 30 days and I cut out certain foods. I didn't do only vegetables, but things that were satisfying to my flesh. So the things that I really liked, but they weren't going to nourish me in any type of way. So sweets and different carbs, things like that, that I would just run to that were unhealthy and I just liked the taste of them. I cut all of those out. I also cut out alcohol. I know in another video I talk about how I stopped drinking. I did that for like a year, but during this time I had set like a 30-day limit where I was definitely for sure not going to drink anything, and then I just cut out every single secular thing in my life that I had control of. So I stopped listening to secular music. I replaced it with gospel music. And I know a lot of people are like, okay, well, I like my rap music, I like my R&B, but there are substitutes for those things. There's Christian rap, there are like Christian love songs, but they're more toward like God. But there is good music out there that you can replace your music with. So like, don't fret, I promise. There are some amazing artists out there. You just have to dig deep and find them. Other than that, I love to listen to podcasts, and I listen to a variety of podcasts. And at that time, I was listening to a lot of podcasts that were probably, they were ratchet. They were a hot mess. So I cut all of those out and I replaced all of those with spiritual podcasts. Whether they were just talking about like enlightenment and spirituality or the Bible, like different chats. Like they didn't have to all be reading God's word, but the topics were just uplifting and they were like typically Christian speakers, so they were really good. I stopped watching all television that was secular. I loved my reality shows, I loved my talk shows, but I stopped listening to all of those. And I did the same exact thing. I just replaced that programming with Christian programming. I would either look online if I couldn't find things on the television. Priscilla Shire has like this show that's called The Chat. I was just looking up all different types of programming to replace my traditional programming with. What else? I said music, TV, social media. I completely cut out social media. There were pages on my social media that I went in and I had to unfollow. Like, I'm so sorry, but I felt like if your content wasn't pouring into me and wasn't making me better, and it was just nonsense, trash, lots of like half nakedness, like I was just like, I can't keep following all this stuff. Because like there's a lot of comparison, there's a lot of envy, there's like just a lot of things that are planted in your spirit simply through you like just scrolling through social media, and you don't even realize that these things are being planted in you, and then you'll start seeing them manifest in your everyday life. So I unfollowed tons of accounts, gossip accounts. I won't even name them, but I don't follow any of them. I don't need to know anybody else's business. I'm minding my own. So I unfollowed all of those, but then I also just deleted my social media apps for that time period. So I was literally like, nothing was being poured into me that was not godly. I would even like in the middle of conversations with people, if you're gossiping, if you're talking about something negative, I can't do it right now. I'm working on myself right now. I'm focused on myself and my relationship with God. I didn't want any type of negativity. And I did that for 30 days straight, and it was absolutely life changing. Like I cannot emphasize this enough. And I won't lie, the first 7 days were hard, because you're just in this zone of your everyday life. Like, oh, I pick up my phone and I typically go to the screen that has my apps on it, my social media apps. And so you will like subconsciously just pick up your phone and scroll like you're gonna open a social media app even though it's not there, just because it's in your everyday habits. And you just replace those habits. So I got to the point where if I was picking up my phone constantly, okay, I need to open the Bible app on my phone, I need to read a scripture, I need to pray, I need to meditate. So I always replaced whatever I had taken away, I replaced it with something godly. Every single day I would get up and I would read a devotional, or I would read the word, I would spend time with God, I would pray. And that's how I started my day, and that's how I ended my day. And in the middle, I was filling up my day with the things that I had mentioned before, you know, watching that programming, listening to those podcasts. I was listening to a sermon every single day. I was journaling every single day. And I never heard God's voice and felt God's direction more clearly on my life. Like, it was, I don't even know how to put it into words. And a lot of people, they will say, you know, you hear God speaking to you. And for me, it's not an audible voice. It's more of a feeling and thoughts that are downloaded into my mind. But I would get these messages like downloaded into my spirit that I would have to write down. I knew I needed to share them on social media whenever I got back on, you know, things like that. But I could just feel God's presence in my life, and I could feel my discernment growing. I could feel my wisdom growing. And so it's really an amazing experience. And that was my very first time doing it. So I strongly encourage everyone to do it as well. And then now, because I'm more in tune with God, I'll kind of know if it's time for me to do a fast. I'll get a feeling or have a thought. I'll feel God pushing me to fast, and I'll even feel how long I need to do it. And there's like a lot of like self-evaluation and just sitting with yourself and knowing yourself that you'll have to do. But then even outside of that, sometimes I'll know as well, like, oh, I haven't been spending as much time as I need to with God, or I just see that I'm behaving in a certain way, I'm snapping back a little bit too quick, or I'm having thoughts that are kind of negative, and it's like, oh, you know, you need to step away, you need to fast, you need to spend time with God. So that's kind of how I gauge it. And one last thing that I wanted to share with you all. This is Matthew 6, verses 16 through 18. The subtitle is fasting, so there you go. When you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces to show others they are fasting. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that it will not be obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. So to break this down, what this text is saying is, don't, when you do make the decision to fast, don't, you know, go out like, oh my God, I'm fasting, I'm so hungry, I'm doing this all for the name of the Lord, and you're just doing it for show. You're just being boastful, and you're just telling people to get some type of recognition so they can tell you how holy you are. Like, it's saying that will be the only reward that you get, is people saying how holy you are. And that may not even happen. People will probably look at you like you're crazy, like, okay girl, you're fasting, so what? You know what I mean? But do it in private and take care of yourself. Keep yourself up, because it's something that's between you and God. It's not something that's between you and everybody else. You're not doing it for validation from everyone else. You're doing it to honor the Father. So that's what you need to be focused on. Like, don't focus on society and how they see you, and, you know, whether they're going to give you a cookie because you decided to fast. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my deep dive into fasting. I hope that this helps you guys. I hope it inspires you to fast on your own as well, because during these times, I think that having clarity and being able to hear from God is very advantageous. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to click subscribe. Hit the bell below so you can get a notification for my next video, and then also I will have links below to where you can follow me. I have a website and all of that jazz. So I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.